In 2010, the same year that Iron Man 2 was playing it safe with sequel syndrome, setting up the Avengers machine that would dominate the next decade, this movie did the exact opposite. An 11-year-old girl gunning down a room full of grown men, a regular teenager getting beaten half to death in an alley while people filmed it, and a father burning alive on live TV while his daughter watches is not something you'd see if you walked into a superhero movie today. There was no post-credit sequel bait, no universe building, and no spin-offs. The entire premise was based on something so straightforward and so simple it will probably never be made again. And that is, what if a normal person tried to be a superhero? Kick-Ass made $96 million out of its $30 million budget, and while that actually sounds pretty good, 2 years later the first Avengers movie made $1.5 billion. But only one of these had the guts to show what being a hero in normal universes would actually be like, and while the Avengers is probably worth the rewatch every once in a while, I know which one I would pick if I needed a movie night. Here's what superhero movies the last few years have completely forgot that makes the early ones like Kick-Ass so special. The most important element that most movies in general do not have today is that consequences should actually matter. When was the last time somebody died in a Marvel movie? Iron Man, he's coming back as Doctor Doom. Gamora, her clone came back the next movie. And Captain America, he just got old. While there is some actual permanent deaths in current Marvel movies, the point is that they often don't matter too much, and when they do actually end up dying, they get a cinematic send-off after sacrificing their life, and they leave behind a fulfilling legacy. But when Big Daddy dies, he burns. There's no last words, no heroic speech, just a man screaming trying to reload his gun while his daughter watches. He's gone permanently, and the movie makes you actually feel it. Even worse than that, when was the last time any Marvel characters actually had any lasting injuries? They're boxing each other with Iron Man suits on, they're fighting wizards, and they're getting thrown out of buildings, and I genuinely can't remember the last time anyone's been hurt for more than 5 minutes, if that's even actually ever happened in the Marvel universe. Kick-Ass doesn't have this problem. Dave, aka Kick-Ass, gets stabbed defending a random man and spends months recovering with metal plates and nerve damage. Watching Dave barely survive a fight with some random mugger is much more thrilling than watching Thor defeat 1,000 enemies without breaking a sweat. Adding this much weight to the universe instantly by making even a basic encounter with someone on the street a potential life-threatening interaction is something we haven't seen in a long time, especially in Marvel. Being special is something that both these movies interpret completely opposite of each other. Marvel needs all of its heroes to be special. Iron Man is a billionaire genius born into ownership of a huge arms company, while Captain America is a super soldier and Thor is a literal god. Even the smaller, more relatable ones like Spider-Man got bitten and were given super strength and superhuman abilities. Dave is not special in any of these ways, and that's the entire point. He's a normal loser kid and not a lot of friends, no money, and no powers. That's why it's so much better and so much more inspiring to watch, and you couldn't walk out your door today and be Iron Man, but you could walk out your door and be Kick-Ass. That's only one of the first things Kick-Ass gets right, but the violence isn't even the most radical thing in this movie. It's what Kick-Ass understood about why any of the violence and any of the deaths even matter at all, and that's why the idea is too dangerous for Marvel to even touch. Hit Girl is the perfect example of everything Marvel isn't. An 11-year-old girl trained assassin who's murdered dozens of people. In no Disney-owned property today is anything even close to this character being allowed to make it on screen. Hit Girl is a violent, tragic character. Her father has been consumed by revenge and has ruined his own daughter's childhood by molding her into a human weapon and putting her into life-threatening situations daily. And when she fights in the movie, there is one detail that is impossible to ignore. The movie never lets you forget that this is a literal child doing all this. She mentions several times that she has no interest at being at school or playing with Barbies or whatever, and she would much rather be fighting crime in the streets than making friends. And then when her dad, Big Daddy, dies, this is when it really separates itself from modern superhero movies. She has to watch her dad burn alive with no last minute save, no goodbye speech, and no fake out sacrifice. Marvel or DC would never do this. There would have to be a time stone situation where it all gets reversed, a multiverse variant, or a fake out last second save kind of thing. This is because Marvel doesn't trust its audience with the most important element in these movies, and that is grief. Every single death is temporary in those movies, and every issue is fixable, and every emotional moment that could make you feel sadness is undercut by a bad joke or some other quip. Kick-Ass earns its right to be violent by making every injury have impact and every death is permanent. When someone dies, they are gone forever. When Kick-Ass loses a fight, there's blood and there's broken bones, and they don't just go away. When Hit Girl kills beyond the amazing fight moves and impressive training, it's disturbing because she should be in school and she should be living a normal life, but instead she's shooting people. But the most dangerous thing that Kick-Ass does beyond all of this, it takes itself seriously and it stays sincere. This is what really separates a movie of this caliber from the recent Marvel movies. It doesn't have a backup plan if a joke falls flat, it's not giving you time to clap in between character introductions, and it's not rattling off self-aware meta jokes. It takes a random kid in a cheap costume fighting crime and it forces you to think about what would really happen if this actually happened. Most modern superhero movies would never do this. Serious moments are only there for so long until it gets to a joke, and all of the characters are well aware of how ridiculous any situation that they're in is. Seriousness in these movies is really risky. If no one takes your movie serious or you think your character motivations are cringe or whatever, you're not going to get the reception you want to in your movie. Kick-Ass knows it's not serious in the beginning, but it does all of this anyway and it acts like it is. Marvel can't do this anymore. Their heroes need to win, and when they lose, there's always another multiverse, there's another phase, or there's another movie coming up that will fix it. There's no tragedy and no grief in modern superhero movies, and that means there's no emotion and no real stakes. Kick-Ass gives us both real tragedy and real consequences, which makes the emotion and the outcomes much more satisfying. Kick-Ass made $96 million and the Avengers made $1.5 billion. That means Hollywood learned exactly the wrong lesson. They saw the numbers and decided PG-13 interconnected universe, safe repeatable sequels with friendly content is what works. Every movie needs a post-credit scene, every hero needs to set up the next hero, and every emotional beat needs a joke within 15 seconds. Everyone's complained about the Marvel formula already, but that is exactly why the formula is the way it is, and that's why it makes money. But here is what we lost with that. Why they may be gaining billions and billions of dollars, we lost the danger, we lost the consequences, and we lost the possibility that a superhero movie could be about one person only in one story, not any connected universes, and not any spin-offs. And look, I actually really like the MCU, and it's brought joy to millions, it makes billions of dollars, everyone likes MCU. It's not bad or anything, it's just completely safe, and it doesn't have out-of-there movies like Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass proved you don't need a billion-dollar budget, you don't need a cinematic universe, and you don't need Disney's approval to make everything the same exact way. Kick-Ass doesn't have all the answers, it doesn't set up a franchise, it just tells one story about one delusional kid in a homemade costume fighting crime. And in a few years, or some people think it's happened already, when every superhero movie looks and sounds exactly the same, remember Kick-Ass is still there waiting to be rewatched. If you guys haven't seen Kick-Ass, I seriously recommend you do it. Even the second one is pretty good too. I make videos rewatching all kinds of old golden movies like this, so if you want to sub up, feel free to, and leave in the comments what movie I should rewatch next, and if you feel the same way I do about Kick-Ass and recent Marvel movies.